Welcome to Satsang. We start as usual with one of the questions that's come in advance, and then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. How can I overcome attachments? I do seva for injured animals, and they suffer a lot. Some of them even die. You start loving these animals, and if something happens, it's very painful. Spirituality is not about giving up your humanity. There's nothing in spirituality that says, thou shalt not love, thou shalt not care, thou shalt become cold-hearted and indifferent and apathetic. There's nothing in spirituality that says that. When someone, something we love suffers, even someone, something we don't even know. You drive through these mountains. You drive through streets of India. And you see poor people, you see homeless people on the side of the road. If that doesn't make you sad, there's something wrong. It's not that becoming sad by seeing that is something wrong. We should become sad. Because what that means is that we are aware they are not separate from us. If you are able to walk by, drive by, people suffering hunger, illness, homelessness, poverty, and you don't feel something inside, that's when you should start to worry. But it's a very subtle aspect here, because when we talk about not being attached, and we talk about the pain that arises in this case with animals who are suffering, we're called upon, we're given rather this very, very interesting and beautiful opportunity to live two aspects of the truth simultaneously. It's not either or, it's simultaneous. And these two truths are as follows. Number one, I have a human heart, and that heart feels love, and it feels compassion, and it cares, and it feels connection, and therefore it suffers when others suffer. And that's beautiful. That is beautiful. That is our humanity. And the other truth is, it's all just God. There is nothing but God. And all of these are just waves in the infinite ocean of divinity. Suffering, death, wealth, poverty, success, failure. All of this are just infinitesimal waves in this ocean of God. There's nothing but God. And in that infinite ocean of God, there are certain waves that arise at different moments. But it's all still God, even though it's the wave. Right? Like when a wave arises in the ocean, it doesn't stop being ocean. It's still ocean. It's just also a wave. And in the same way, when there are waves, as there are constantly, of suffering, of death, of joy, of gain, of loss, these are minuscule wave forms in the ocean of perfection, the ocean of divinity. And remember, it's not either or. It's not that one is higher and one is lower. Or that sometimes we should be a human and sometimes we should be deeply spiritual. It's actually about holding both of these truths in your consciousness at the same time. This awareness that yes, everything is perfect. Everything is God. There is no you, there is no me, there is no animal. There is no death. Because it's all just infinite life. It's all just God. It's timeless. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, the soul, the spirit, you are that which was never born, will never die. So that's not just true about Arjuna, that's true about all of us. It's true even about the animals that this question asker is asking about. The soul is the soul, whether it's the soul of a puppy or the soul of a human. Just in different incarnations, in different vehicles for different karmic packages. So we hold the awareness, it's all perfection, it's all God. There's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do. It's just God. And simultaneously, that here we are as humans, and when someone falls down on the road in front of you, you bend down and you help them up because you are a human. And if you don't, that's a problem. Tragically, people think that, I've heard people say, I'm becoming very aloof, as though that were a good thing. This and this one died, this and this one's suffering, this and this is happening, and nothing impacts me. As though that were a good thing. We're not meant to discard our humanity. God doesn't make mistakes. God gave us eyes that cry, a heart that loves, that cares, brains that are capable of innovation, planning, creativity. We're not supposed to just pretend we don't have these and become aloof. But we're also not supposed to get lost in the story. And when we get lost in the story, oh my God, the animal died, then we've lost the rest of the picture. Just like if we ignore the guy who's fallen down in front of us because we say, well, it's all perfect, it's all God. Yeah, that blood that's just gushing out of his leg, it's all God. It's all perfect. That's problematic. In the same way that it's problematic to forget that it's all God and to get totally lost in, oh my God, the guy, and oh my God, this, and oh my... And the real beautiful opportunity we've been given is to hold the space for both simultaneously. Yes, it's all God. Yes, it's all perfect. And yes, people are hungry and they are suffering, and it is our duty to feed them. And yes, when we care and love, we lose. And when we lose, it hurts. And that's beautiful because it reminds us we're human. And it reminds us of this beautiful heart we have. And so, to the sweet being who's doing this seva for animals, it's beautiful that you care. It's beautiful that you connect. Serve them. Care, love. But don't lose yourself. Don't lose the rest of the picture. Allow yourself also to know that this animal incarnation that they've had is also part of God's perfect plan. This suffering they are having is also part of this plan. And yes, you should help them. And yes, it's part of God's perfect plan. And to just expand our awareness to hold space for both of those at the same time. Are there any questions that anyone here has? Yeah, first here and then here. Oh.
Namaste, Sadhviji.
Namaste, sweetness.
Can you talk a little bit about the dark night of the soul?
Ah, the dark night of the soul. So, it sounds like that. Now it's sounding more like that. So the dark night of the soul is something that several different spiritual traditions have spoken about. That it's that moment where we call out to God, where there is nothing left. It's described in different ways by different traditions, by different people. It's ultimately that moment when we realize that there is nothing that is ultimately real and true about all of that which we have told ourselves for all of the years that we have lived. That we have dedicated ourselves for all these years to a story, to an idea, to an attachment, to a drama. And we try and we try and we succeed and we get this and we get that and we attain this and we achieve over here. And nothing actually fills us. We eat, we drink, we do drugs, we have relationships, we have sex, we do all of the things that we do to feel full. Nothing fills us. And we ultimately reach a stage where we realize, I am nothing. I am nothing. That dark night of the soul is this awareness of I am nothing. All of that I've thought about myself, this whole ego structure that I've created, who I am, what I need, what I want, how things work, what I believe, none of it's true. And it's that awareness of I am nothing. And it begins, in many cases, I shouldn't speak for all, but it begins in many cases with that lowercase n of nothing, as in I am nothing, helpless, hopeless. But slowly, if you can have the experience when it arises, it's not something you can really call on. It tends to grip us in the middle of the night, literally. Or early morning. if you can allow yourself to drop with faith, the lowercase n nothing becomes a capital N nothing, which is synonymous with the capital E everything. So if you can imagine it graphically in layers, I've got this layer of here's who I am. This is my story, my role, my drama, my name, my history, my body, my race, my religion, everything I've always thought about myself. That's my upper level, sort of that superficial level you can say of selfhood. Dark night of the soul is that shatters. I realize it is all an illusion. I then feel like I have nothing. The glue that held me together no longer does. And if I can allow myself to drop with faith, it goes deeper. And it goes deeper into this experience of, yeah, I am nothing. But it's not a nothing that's an absence of something. It's a nothing that is actually one with everything. So rather than being an absence, it becomes an inseparable allness. But it requires a level of faith, because when most of us experience that lowercase n nothing, we panic. That's when it's like, oh my God, I gotta have something to drink. Right? Gotta go out, call a friend, let's go to the movies, gotta get out of here. It's when we do something to pull us out of that experience. Out of the void, it's also called. But if you can allow yourself to sink, knowing that you are being held, you actually find that you come into a very beautiful existence. But you've got to trust. This is why I talk so frequently about that trust fall into the universe. You know, so many of us in school or on corporate team building retreats do this trust fall where, right, you stand and you fall back and somebody behind you is supposed to catch you. And frequently the person behind you is a stranger. Sometimes it's a competitor, sometimes it's an enemy, sometimes it's the schoolyard bully. But we always fall back because we know they're going to catch us. Even a stranger. And when we've got that kind of faith in even a stranger, what about the universe? So we trust fall into the universe of I am nothing. Nothing. And you fall and you fall and you fall and you fall and you realize you're being held. And then you realize that that which is holding you actually isn't separable from you. And then it becomes the everything. But it's that moment where you no longer can go back to pretending that you are this story. It's like you've seen through the drama and you can't go back. You can't pretend you didn't see it. And so you just lie there, as most of us find ourselves quite literally lying there. And you just surrender. You surrender to the divine. And if you can keep going with that surrender, then the darkness becomes light. Beautiful. Yes.
What is the importance of vegetarian diet in spiritual journey?
So this is one of my favorite topics. Have to get my soapbox ready. So, on a spiritual path, we're told to be vegetarians for reasons due to things like ahimsa, right? Non-violence. But most of us, sadly, are given it really very superficially. The good news is that works for a lot of people. It's violent to the animals. They suffer. They are God's creation. And for a lot of people, that's enough. Thou shalt not bring suffering onto others. Great. For all of those that works for, wonderful. The dilemma is there's a lot for whom that doesn't work. And this is where we have to go deeper. Because vegetarianism, or rather non-vegetarianism, the meat industry, is violent in ways that are far vaster than the violence of killing an animal to eat it. There was a time in history where people went out into the forest with bows and arrows and they killed a deer and they brought it home and the whole village ate it for a month. Well, it was still violent to the deer, but it was sustainable. And if it was all they had, I mean, obviously, yes, we would prefer they ate potatoes and spinach and lentils and whatnot. But it was a sustainable way of a food chain. Because, of course, when the lion eats the deer, that's also violence. Right? You watch a National Geographic special and the lions are running after the zebras or whatever. Now, who do you root for? Huh? Anybody ever root for the lion? No, right? We always root for the zebra. Go, 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 he's coming. And yet, on a deep core level, we understand the lion's got to eat also. Right? We don't begrudge the lion for doing what lions have to do, which is eat zebras. So in the same way, when hundreds of years ago, without the type of agriculture that we have today, the type of food transport that we have today, people went out into the forests and they took a bow and arrow and they hunted a deer and they ate it for a month. Okay, still violent to the deer. But I think it would be hard to make a moral case of wrongness against that person. Unless they had a lot of other options, which at that point, most of them didn't. The issue today is it's an entirely different ballgame. We're not even talking about the same thing. The meat industry today is just that, it's an industry. It has nothing to do with people walking out with a bow and arrow, killing a deer in the forest and taking a month to eat it with the village. Today we are talking about an industry that is directly responsible for the deforestation of the rainforests, for climate change, for water shortages, for people going hungry and dying of starvation around the planet. The meat industry has become a scourge on the face of humanity, far beyond the eating of an animal. The meat industry today is the single greatest contributor to climate change. It is the single greatest cause of the deforestation of our rainforests. Why? Well, because land in places like America and England and Europe and, well, it's kind of expensive. right? Per square foot, it's kind of expensive. Well, land in the rainforests, a lot cheaper. So they go in and they cut down all of the trees and they use that land now to graze the cows who become hamburgers. An acre of rainforest, well, between 1 and 2 acres of rainforest, is being cut down every second just for beef. Every second. Anybody here ever sign a petition in person or online to protect the rainforests? Right? I mean, anybody ever give a donation to Greenpeace, the Nature Conservancy, World Wildlife Fund? The meat industry is their greatest enemy, and it is far more powerful. For every acre they can save, McDonald's is cutting them down, God knows how many times as fast. The amount of water that goes into the production of 1 pound of meat. So you and a couple friends sit down for quarter pounders. Or you have a big steak. That amount of water is the same amount of water that you use in bathing for 6 months. It's about 10,000 liters of water, about 2,500 gallons. It's the amount of water you use in bathing for 6 months. Now, anyone here turn off the tap while they soap up? Turn off the tap while you're brushing your teeth? Right? We all should. It's nothing compared to the amount of water that you are wasting if you're eating meat. 6 months of bathing, 1 meal of meat. Which means that if you care about water, you literally would have to not bathe for 6 months after every meal of hamburgers to offset that water use. Chicken is about 1/3, so you'd only have to go without bathing for 2 months. And it uses all that water because, well, it eats a lot of grain, so the grain has to be grown. That takes water. The animals drink a lot of water during their lives. They're bathed with water. Then when they're killed, the amount of water that is needed to extricate that which you eat from the feces, the blood, the urine, takes a lot of water because it's not so neatly separated inside. It all kind of comes out together, so they need a lot of water to separate it. You end up with 6 months worth of bathing water for 1 meal of meat. And lastly, I could go on about this all night, but I'll give you just one more example. Every day, tens of thousands of people die of starvation. Every day. Okay? So we have one 9/11. We have one 26/11. We have one bombing somewhere, and it's horrible. And a few dozen people, a few hundred people, a few thousand people die. It's horrible, and we should stop it. And every day, tens of thousands of people are dying of starvation. 1 billion people almost go to sleep hungry every night. Those are those who make it through the night. Almost 1 billion sleep hungry. Now we actually produce enough grain, means wheat, rice, corn, soy, to feed 10 billion people. Okay? It's a lot more than we even have on planet Earth. The US alone produces enough grain to give every person on earth 2 loaves of bread a day. No one needs to go hungry, let alone die of starvation. The dilemma is that well over 50% of the planet's grain, I think it's 70% internationally, 90% in some places like America, of the grain that is grown isn't given to people. It's given to the cows and the pigs and the chickens who are being raised to become our hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken McNuggets. The amount of grain that goes into meat is 16 times what it would take to feed people. So 1 pound of beef takes 16 pounds of grain. The reason for that, of course, is that the animals digest most of what they eat. Most of what you feed animals isn't coming out in what you get. Most of what they eat, they digest, they poop. It takes 16 pounds of grain feeding that cow to ultimately end up with 1 pound of beef. Okay? 16 pounds in, 1 pound out. But with those same 16 pounds of grain, you could make 16 pounds of bread, of rice, of pasta. So your choice really is feed 16 people a vegetarian diet or feed 1 person meat. Which means that every time I choose meat, I am saying, I deserve the food of 15 other people. Let them starve. Let them die. I want a hamburger. Now you tell me which spiritual tradition, which scripture, which religion, which understanding of God tells us you deserve the food for 15 other people. 15 people should starve so you can eat hamburgers. None of them. I mean, they all tell us in different ways. Share, care. The world, is your family. In Hinduism, we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Well, could you imagine sitting down to dinner at a table with 16 people, right? Big stack of chapatis comes out. And you pick up the entire plate. And you bring it to you. Ab socho, right? Sabhi logon ke liye roti aa gaya. 16 logon ka. Sabhi baite hain. Or kitchen se kuch aane wale nahi hai. Right? Whoever's cooking has made them. Now she's going to come and sit down. She's made rotis for everybody. Ab she's going to come sit. Now you take that whole stack of rotis and you take them all. Koi soch sakte? Imagine. All the food on the table. Yeah. You people can starve. We wouldn't do that in a family. We wouldn't do that in a community. We wouldn't do that anywhere. But every time we eat meat, that's exactly what we're doing. And so, on any aspect of a spiritual path, any aspect of a yogic path, we have to be vegetarian. Not because the cow is holy. If you believe it is wonderful, then it's easy for you. But because we believe life in general is holy. Because we believe this planet is holy. Because we believe the future is holy. Because we believe that our sisters and brothers living all over this world are holy. That life in general is sacred. So whether you believe the cow is holy or not doesn't matter. Is life sacred? Is the planet sacred? If it is, we have to be vegetarians. Yeah. Beautiful. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Are you with us tomorrow? Okay, Chalo, we'll take yours as the last quick question. Done.
Namaste. Please help me understand the concept of karma. Why, when my intentions towards a situation or a person is good, I still suffer?
Beautiful. Karma. So, Karma is not rewards and punishments. Most of us think of karma as rewards and punishments. मैंने अच्छी काम किया, अच्छी चीज मिलेगा. Right? It's not quite so simple. Karma is the flowering of the seeds that we plant. Sometimes that we plant right here, right now. Some that we've planted lifetimes ago. So a lot of things that happen are happening not because of what I've just done right now, but of our long-term karma. But there's also another element of it, which is that the ultimate goal of our human incarnation is not that we become rich or famous or successful, not that we never suffer or get sick or die. The ultimate goal is that we realize God. That's why we're here. That's why we've been given this human birth, and why the human birth is seen as the pinnacle of evolution. Because with consciousness, we can experience God. Our karma, karma is the action, the fruits of the karma, that which I'm receiving, is actually that which I need in order to take my next step closer to God. So it's not about rewards and punishments. It's not about wealth or poverty or success or failure. It's not that success is good and wealth is good and therefore you must have done something. It's the situation you're in right now is the result of the flowering of seeds you've planted. But it is also the most conducive situation for you to take your next step closer to God. And so whatever situation you're in, if you are suffering, the question to ask yourself is, what am I supposed to learn from this? A, what seeds did I plant that may be blossoming in this way? I mean, I would ask you, well, what's the attachment? You've done something good, but you're suffering. Well, do you have to be suffering? Is the suffering God-given? Is the universe something that's made you suffer? Or is it that you've got an attachment or an expectation in your mind to how things should be? And that's what's making you suffer. You know, we blame a lot on our karmic package that is actually just an untrained mind. So it's not that your stars are aligning badly, or that the universe is against you, or that, you're suffering from past karmas. Maybe it's something as simple as you've got an expectation that someone is going to behave in a way that is not part of that person's karmic package. And you've attached your happiness and your peace onto someone else's actions, words, treatment of you, choices. And so we suffer. And that's actually a lot easier to deal with than if it were your whole karmic package. Karmic packages we have to walk through. But suffering that's there just because of the mind, that's actually a lot easier to deal with. Because that just requires a letting go of that which I'm holding on to, which is causing me to suffer. It's like they say so beautifully, anger is drinking poison and expecting the other guy to die. Well, in the same way, we suffer in a way because we're hoping that someone we'll know we are suffering and therefore do something different. Many times they don't notice, they don't care, they're incapable of change, whatever it may be. But we've consciously, voluntarily chosen to suffer. So ask yourself why you think you deserve to suffer. Why can you not see what a divine, beautiful, amazing woman you are? Whatever choices someone else is making, whatever decisions they are making about their life, their actions, their words, their thoughts, those do not render you deserving of suffering. They do not change how divine and wonderful and perfect and beautiful you are. So you need to just ask yourself, why do I think so less of myself? That I'm prepared to suffer based on someone else's decisions. Okay? You deserve a lot more than that. Wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. There will not be satsang tomorrow. I am so sorry. I have to go back to Delhi for a day. We will regather on Sunday. I have a program in Delhi on Sunday morning, so I have to go tomorrow evening. But we'll regather on Sunday. Have a beautiful 2 days. And so much love to you all.